Story 1. In 7th grade, I wore a fanny pack to school to hold stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which I played with at lunch. Once, while walking down the hallway, an 8th grader I never met before said, "Dude, I like your fanny pack," gave me a high five, and kept walking. I never saw him again, and miraculously nobody ever picked on me about it, at least to my face. Story 2. My 4-year-old son told me I smelled like music. When I asked what kind of music, he said, "Music you dance to." Still the best compliment I have received to date. Edit. Lots of people asking if he may have synesthesia. I thought that as well. However, he's 9 now, and we've had no other incidents. I asked him just now if he ever tastes shapes or hears numbers, etc., and he looked at me like I had 7 heads. Story 3. A woman I was talking to in my dad's shop thought I was not me but my sister. When I tried to correct her that I am me, she told me, "No, you are not. Insert my name is fat and has short hair. She is not beautiful like you." Like, what the heck, lady? Story 4. My friends and I were talking about what kind of potatoes we would be. One of my best friends told me, "You would be a loaded baked potato. People pay extra for that good stuff." Story 5. You look comfortable. Not as in I looked relaxed. She meant I looked comfortable to rest, lean, or lie on. At first, I asked if she was politely saying I was fat. She explained that I had a look about me of being someone who would be comfortable to cuddle with and not hog space or covers. I took it as a compliment. I hope it was. This was a stranger I was having a conversation with during the morning train commute maybe 3 years ago. Came out of the blue as well. Story 6. A coworker once told me that I was a cross between Han Solo and Dr. Bunsen Honeydew from the Muppets. This was in 1998, and I still cannot stop thinking about it. Was that supposed to be a compliment? An insult? The worst part is that he was pretty accurate, actually. Story 7. You look like you're good with your elbows, said by a 50-plus-year-old man biking by. He then swung back around, telling me I should try out for the local roller derby team. Story 8. When I went to the doctor, I guess they were training a nurse. They were about to draw my blood, and the older one poked at my veins. She said I had nice, bouncy veins, so they're easy to see and draw blood from. Story 9. I work in retail and was told this by a customer. "You're so nice. You must have been bullied in high school." Edit. Because people asked, I was in fact bullied in high school. I'm in college now, and since it's online, the only people bullying me are my family. Story 10. From a teacher. You're like a barbed wire fence. Maybe something gets past you, but it leaves tattered pieces behind. I'm not very attentive, but somehow I manage to pick up the information I need and use it appropriately. Story 11. One evening about 12 years ago, I was on a bus headed down to the financial district in New York City. I cannot remember why we were on a bus instead of taking the subway, as I rarely took buses over the subway. Anyway, there were not many people on the bus, and every passenger was able to sit in a seat. Directly across from where I was sitting was an elderly Asian woman. She sat there smiling at me for a couple of minutes. I was not sure if she was smiling at me or just in my direction, so I just smiled back at her. When we reached her stop, she came up to me and said, "You are even more beautiful than Meryl Streep." I was so flattered but also amused. Meryl Streep is a good 35 years older than me. I never thought of her as a beautiful woman, but that did not matter because someone did. And they thought I was beautiful too. Story 12. You know the definition of the word wholesome? You are my new definition for that. Something along those lines, kind of weird, but man did it feel good to get it. I couldn't stop smiling. Story 13. I went to my 25th high school reunion, and a woman I knew then didn't recognize me. When I told her my name, she said, "Oh my gosh, you're so handsome now." Story 14. An old lady once told me she wishes she were 60 years younger. Then she would give me some confidence. It was the most unsettling, funniest, and somehow most charming compliment I've ever received. Story 15. I, an 18-year-old male at the time, was catcalled while walking up the street. The assailant screamed, "You have very good posture." Edit. I had actually been involved in a pretty serious car wreck months prior, and had been working on my posture with a physical therapist to address whiplash-related pain. Gotta engage those abdominal muscles just under your belly. Story 16. Some random cute girl in town told me I was a boomting while I was waiting at the bus stop after school. I assumed it was an insult at the time. It was only days later that I discovered she was calling me hot. Edit. Thanks for the silver. Story 17, maybe not the weirdest, but definitely the one most out of left field. I was walking down the street, minding my own business, and this guy sitting on the corner looks at me and goes, "Everybody get a load of Antonio Banderas over here." Haha. How's it going, Antonio? I only maybe kind of look like Antonio Banderas, but he's a handsome dude, so I always took it as a compliment. Story 18, you finally look like a human being. It happens every time I get a haircut. Laugh out loud. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Also, it's nice to see that "you finally look like a human" is a universal saying rather than just something I thought was from my country. I wonder what other sayings are like that. Story 19. It was a crowded Australia Day celebration in the city. Things were getting a bit out of control and everyone had way too much to drink. I tried to walk quietly by a group of fairly aggressive troublemakers without attracting attention. One of them shouted, "Hey everyone, look at that guy. He looks awesome. I want my children to look like him." Everyone stopped and looked at me. Some people nodded and said, "Yeah." Story 20. No, you're very broad. Girls like that, they're gonna look at you and say, "Now that is a jungle gym, and I just want to climb all over." Story 21. Every time I see her, my gynecologist always says, "You have such a cute little cervix." I've had a boyfriend blushingly tell me I have a really cute butthole. Don't make it weird. So I got that going for me. Story 22. You look happy today by one of my great Nan's friends. She had meant happy, but it made me laugh so hard I choked on my drink. I thought she had excellent intuition about my mood. Turns out she just thought I looked happy. Story 23. One of my first days at a new job, I heard a coworker telling another coworker, "I mean, this is a compliment. The real Gongazler looks like she collects dead animals in jars." Still my favorite compliment. Edit. Linked to my username instead of a non-existent subreddit. Edit. To all responding to my username Memento Mori, my friends. I'm glad we all shared such a wonderful experience. Story 24. A drunk woman at the bar was all over me. She was especially entranced by my elbows. She said I had really strong elbows and they were so sexy. She eventually asked if she could lick them. While weird, I allowed her. Pre-COVID, people don't worry. No, I'm not Technoblade. I do like Minecraft though. Story 25. It wasn't really a weird compliment, just a really weird delivery. This girl came up to me and told me to look straight forward, stared into one of my eyes for about 2 minutes, and said, "Nice." Edit. Thanks for so many upvotes. But this is way more boring than you make it out to be. We met through a mutual friend in the city, not a club, university, or whatever, and she is straight as far as I know. Story 26. Your butt is really toned, like buns of steel, bro. That was from my older cousin a few years ago when she randomly slapped my ass thinking I was her boyfriend walking out of the kitchen. It still kind of creeps me out. She did apologize after she realized her mistake, but her compliment right after made it way weirder. Story 27. Drunkenly met a guy at a bar. He leaned over, smelled my hair, and with excitement in his eyes told me, "You smell like a Swedish meadow." On the third date, he told me, "You have some wood chopping shoulders. Like, if it's the dead of winter and wood needs to be chopped, I'm calling you." We've now been dating over a year and a half. Story 28. My sister's friend told me I had the sense of humor of an old man on his deathbed who was upset because he couldn't find his ex-wife to tell her to leave him alone one last time. Edit. I didn't realize he was referencing Ron Swanson. I've seen Parks and Recreation, but it was years ago, so I forgot about it. Story 29. My girlfriend said that the first thing she noticed about me were my hands. That was 4 years ago, and she still reminds me to this day how much she liked them. I guess being a guitarist with pianist hands has its perks. Story 30. I went shopping for a friend while he did a favor for me. It was later at night, and I had parked far away in the parking lot. There were a few other shoppers, and a woman was following me out after I had checked out. There was a car parked next to mine in a basically empty lot, and I thought, wouldn't it be funny if this lady had parked next to me, with all these empty spots? And lo and behold, she had. I had pulled through so our driver's sides were next to each other. I loaded my trunk up with groceries and started to get in, but the lady stopped me. I am a 21-year-old male, 6 feet tall, with very long, luscious curly hair at the time. I was pushed up against my car by a lady who could be my grandma. She grabbed a lock of my hair, pushed up against me, and said, "Women would kill for this hair." All I could say was, "I know. Thanks." I got in my car and left promptly. Story 31. Someone told me that they liked talking to me because I made them use their whole brain. I don't know. It's weird, but it was nice to hear. Edit. Since a bunch of people are making the same joke about strokes, here are the 5 classic warning signs of stroke. Know when to call for help. Weakness or numbness in the face, arm, or leg, usually on just one side. Difficulty speaking or understanding language. Decreased or blurred vision in one or both eyes. Unexplained loss of balance or dizziness. Severe headache with no known cause. Story 32. You must have been invited to this conference because you are so pretty. At a particle physics conference organized by my old university, which invited a few alumni, this was said to me by a physics Nobel laureate. Thanks, dude. Stay classy. For those who are saying he did not know what he was doing, he knew. We had just finished dinner and he came over to say it the second his wife left the table. I also then learned months later he is banned from at least one university campus for his behavior. Story 33. This isn't going to immediately sound weird, but a very friendly woman who I had never talked to before from church told me I had a really nice smile. Every single time she saw me, she would enthusiastically demand I smile for her. Not in a creepy, "Hey baby, give me a smile" way, a genuinely kind-hearted way. The thing is, I have terrible teeth. I have an absolutely massive overbite, and my front teeth are fairly crooked, and they're all coffee-stained and a bit chipped. I've been self-conscious of my smile my whole life. I wonder if she complimented me for that reason or if it was genuine. She has since passed away, unfortunately. She was young too, so I can't exactly ask her. I don't even remember her name, but I don't think I'll ever forget her. Thank you for all your nice comments, you all are wholesome. Story 34. One time a gay coworker told me I have very expressive eyebrows for a straight man. That compliment has stuck with me for years. He then said that my hands look like Subway flatbreads. I'm not sure how to take that one. Story 35. Went on a blind date with this guy who is a friend of a friend. He spent the night mostly talking about how nice my top made my breasts look. Yes, that was the first and last time I saw him. Story 36. Someone told me I give the best hugs. This compliment doesn't seem out of the ordinary, but the fact is that I'm skinny, and when someone hugs me, they semi-crunch my organs, so they are just hugging some bones, to be honest. Story 37. Found out my teachers in high school used to describe me as the one with the knees. I always wore a miniskirt. I also had an elderly patient give me a hug and say, "You're built real nice." Story 38. Mine's that I look like a Tim Burton character. At least I thought it was a compliment because I like Tim Burton's work, but now that I think all of his characters are undead. Story 39. I had to take a Greyhound out of Phoenix. It was delayed, and while I was standing by the charging station, a lady asked where I was from. I told her my hometown, and she said, "They make some fine booty there. Girl, you're thick." I was flustered and flattered. A friend reminded me of another, probably better one. "Your hands are so tiny. They're cute like a Capuchin monkey's." Story 40. When I was very pregnant with our first child, an older gentleman stopped me in the market and started coming on to me. He said, "You look so sexy in such a successful, fertile state. Life growing deep inside you." Made me feel really uncomfortable. Story 41. After I got a pixie cut, "You look like one of those dolls from the 20s. Walking out of choir class. I want to wrap myself up in your voice and take a nap." Story 42. Well, I think this may have been intended as an insult since I was covey back then, but some guy told me I was built for comfort, not speed. Given that I would prefer a guy to be comfortable making love to me rather than him being quick, I decided to take it as a compliment instead. Story 43. You look like you were drawn by my dominant hand, said to me by an artist. Opposite of the awesome insult. You look like you were drawn by my non-dominant hand. Story 44. I was at my friend's house, and as her 12-year-old came downstairs, I heard her say, "Oh, she's here. I can smell her." Apparently, she loves the smell of my fabric softener and could smell me. Story 45. My friends used to tell me my girlfriend gives the best head. Thanks for the reward. Also, to clarify, this has been an ex-girlfriend of several years. She left, saying she wanted to move on to bigger and better things, which is weird because all she did was move in with her coworker, Eric. Story 46. I'm a firefighter. I've been complimented on my CPR skills on more than one occasion by the arriving paramedics. They are apparently quite impressed that a stretcher fetcher can actually do good quality compressions. If you know anything about the whole paramedics and firefighter rivalry, they typically joke that firefighters just soften them up. It's nice to hear that my CPR is top-notch, but it's also really bizarre to hear it while you're working on the patient. Story 47. Damn, you go hard for a guy wearing a cardigan. Some background. I absolutely love punk rock and especially love being in the pit at shows, but I don't really look the type to be there most of the time. Last year, I went to see the Distillers in concert in Minneapolis. I had been wanting to see them ever since I was 16 years old, but I never got a chance before they broke up because I was too young for most of their shows. So, with that said, I was super excited for this show since I had been waiting about 15 years for it. I decided to wear a gray button-up shirt and a beige cardigan with dark blue jeans. I looked pretty normal but definitely stood out at the show full of a bunch of punks wearing all black and studs. The show gets going, and I'm having a blast in the pit. I was in it for nearly every song, stopping briefly to catch my breath for a bit before being pushed back in. During one of these breaks, this biker-looking dude with a shaved head, tattoos, and a long gray beard puts his hand on my shoulder and says, "Damn, you go hard for a guy wearing a cardigan." I thought it was hilarious and very unexpected, so I just gave him a nod and made my way back in. Definitely paid for it the next day, as I was pretty banged up all over, but it was such a great show, and that random compliment really helped make that night special.